Hey guys! So it's been exactly 1 year since I left my studio apartment in Brooklyn, New York and set out to travel the world. I lived in New York City for 2 years, and as far as that city goes, that is not very much time at all. The past year has given me some time to kind of reflect on things that I learned while I was living there and just ways that that city changed me. It's just a city that's unlike anywhere else, and I think especially now having traveled a lot, I can really truly say it's one of the greatest cities in the world. Just the energy there is just so infectious. So these are the top 10 things I learned from living in New York City. Number 1, it really is a city where all of your dreams can come true. You can do anything you want there. But that being said, if you want to do something, just do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the right moment. Don't even wait till you have all the experience. Just do it. Just kind of that whole energy of the city makes you feel like you can do anything you want, and you kind of can. I did things there that I never would have dreamed of. For one, I started this YouTube channel while I was living in New York. I've always loved drawing on chalkboards and hand lettering and all of that. I just found it fun as a hobby. While I was living in New York, I found out that some people got paid to do that, and then I was like, whoa, I want to do that too. And then people are like, okay, sure, here's a job, here's a board, do it, here's money. Opportunities that are available to you in New York City are just endless. Anything you can dream up, I feel like you can do, and just have to make it happen. Number 2, if you go for a job interview, be prepared to just work that day. They might just say, all right, start working now. It's very much a hands-on show and tell kind of place. Like, if you're gonna say you can do something, you better be able to deliver. My first year there, I worked at one bar where I was talking to a customer, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm a DJ. Do you ever think you guys would hire a DJ here? And I was like, yeah, maybe. I went and talked to the manager. I asked him, and he said, oh, well, if he's a DJ, then he should have music with him right now. So tell him to give me his phone. I'll plug in his mixes, and if we like it, then maybe we'll hire him. And this guy was like, whoa, I don't know, I'm not prepared. And then he like pulled out something and he had it. But just so you know, if you ask for anything at all, just be prepared to deliver in that moment. Otherwise, no one has time for you, so. Number 3, no one really knows what they're doing. And what I mean by that, when you think of a big company, you think, oh, everyone there has everything together and they know what they're doing and they're really qualified and they've been working their whole life for this. And okay, in some cases that may be true, but in other cases, like what I just said, they maybe just had an idea and then someone just gave them a job and now they're doing it. You just kind of make stuff up as you go along and you do the best you can. When you're a kid, you think your parents know everything, but now that I'm older, I realize, oh, they didn't know what they're doing really either. They just made it up as they went along. And obviously that's not true in all cases, but in New York, I really found it's, again, if you want to do something, you just do it. You don't wait for the right moment, and you just figure stuff out as you go along. You just make it work. Number 4, living with cockroaches and mice and rats is not that bad. Okay, it's not pleasant, but it's doable and it's worth it. That sounds kind of crazy, I realize. I think living in New York, you just realize what's important to focus on and what isn't. Again, it's kind of just like you make do with what you have, and it's really not that great, and I mean, it's pretty disgusting, but you know, it builds character. Number 5 goes along with that, and that paying a lot for rent for a tiny apartment is worth it to live in one of the greatest cities in the world. I really actually enjoyed having to pare down my stuff and just have the necessities. It makes you appreciate your stuff more. You really prioritize what's important, and I think that's nice, especially for a traveler. You don't need that much stuff. So I actually enjoyed living in a small space. New York just like puts you through the ringer, and it's like, really, if you want to live there, you have to put up with a lot of crap. It makes you a tougher person, and I am so thankful for that. 6, dealing with crazy shared experiences creates a good community. Now, when you live in New York City, there's just a lot you have to put up with. Crazy weather. In the summer, it's super hot and humid. In the winter, it can be very, very cold. And most people don't have cars, so you're kind of all sharing subways and walking spaces, and you're with people all the time. It creates more of a sense of community. You all have something to talk about, and you're on a subway and you're with all these people from all different walks of life. I mean, you're all in the same space and you're doing the same thing. And there's something actually really nice and comforting about that, I find. If you compare that to when you live in a city and everyone has their own car and everyone is driving, and you're sitting in traffic and you look around and it's just all like a single person in their car. You have like this cushion around you and you never really have to interact with people unless you really want to. It's so different in New York. People are just in your face and you have to deal with them no matter what. You don't really have a choice. It just made me more comfortable doing things that were out of my comfort zone, if that makes sense. But yeah, when you have a car and you're just kind of in your own world, it's so easy. But when you really have to like be crammed into a subway car with 100 sweaty people, you know, it brings you to a whole different level. Number 7, be very nice to bartenders. And doormen, for that matter. And this is not just because I was a bartender, but it's also because I was a patron of a lot of bars. Okay, not that many bars, but a few regular bars. When you make friends with bartenders, for one, you know, they might give you some deals, which when you're broke and living in New York, it's very much needed. But also just to be able to go to a place in the middle of this crazy city with 8 million people, to be able to just walk into a bar and the bartender knows who you are and they know what drink you want is one of the nicest feelings. If you're not a drinker, you know, make friends with the owner of your bodega or whatever. But in general, it's a good life lesson. Just be nice to people and people will be nice to you. Crazy idea though, right? Number 8, appreciate nature when you have it. In New York City, there's a lot of parks, but there's a lot of buildings and concrete and metal and not nature too. So when you are around nature, really appreciate it and get your fill. Luckily, I lived nearby Prospect Park, so I'd spend a lot of time there. I'd go running there and have picnics and whatnot. To me, that was like my savior. If I didn't have the park nearby, I would be a little bit crazier of a person. Maybe just would have fit in more, you know. Number 9, your feet are often your best form of transportation. I just love walking around the city. It's one of my favorite things to do. Just seeing all the buildings and feeling the energy. It's so good. The last place I worked in New York was 2 miles from my apartment and I would walk there and back. So which some people thought was crazy, but I loved it. Also, if I took the subway there, it only saved me 5 minutes. So I figured get exercise and fresh air and listen to podcasts. Yeah, it was great. Even I walked in the snow. I'm like one of those people now that I'm like, oh, back in the day when I walked 2 miles in the snow each way. And saves money because everything else is so expensive. Walking is free. Number 10, so one of the biggest stereotypes about New York is that the people are rude. That is not true at all. I mean, some people might be rude, but that's the same as anywhere. But for the most part, everyone is very friendly. They just won't go out of their way to be friendly, and they're very honest and very real, which I so appreciate. You're never guessing what anyone is thinking. I mean, if you need help, if you need directions or something, people will always help you, no problem at all. In general, I feel like the people of New York are just a huge part. It wouldn't be the same without the people. I met so many good people there. Those are the things that I learned while living in New York City and that I've actually more come to realize since having left. New York City is just unlike any other city in the world, and I feel like a little piece of me is always going to be there, and I learned so much about myself living there. I became a stronger person and I started new creative ventures that I don't know if I ever would have done. It really gave me a lot of confidence to be alone and to travel alone. If you're an American and you're nervous about traveling abroad, go to New York first. Just spend a week in New York by yourself. And if you can do that, you can go anywhere. It's easier other places. And thank you so much for watching. And if you want more travel videos from me, then subscribe and see y'all later. Bye. Again, I just like to be prepared, but I think it's just a small thing that could make all the difference when you need it.